Goodness gracious, when is this gonna end?
Summer of 2019 finds me back in Alaska for another packrafting adventure with the Fry clan. Just like in 2016 when we did the John River, we're starting in Anaktuvuk Pass, only this time we're hiking east for a couple of days before we put into the North Fork of the Koyukuk. Tundra travel can be a bit of a mixed bag. It starts out easily enough with this four-wheeler trail, but when we run out of that, it starts to become like walking on a wet, lumpy mattress. The lumpy mattress stuff is bad enough. It soaks your feet and is surprisingly exhausting to walk on. But these tussocks are even worse. Tussocks are firm bunches of grass that are the tundra equivalent of walking on bobbleheads. And walking across this terrain is a chore. Hiking poles are a no-brainer. You'll notice I didn't bring mine. We were always trying to find a better place to walk, a better way to go. But no matter which way we choose, we always had to deal with either squishy tundra, tussocks, bushwhacking, or river crossings, sometimes in various combinations. But occasionally we would luck out and have a good stretch of solid ground. We camped on our first night only about 10 miles outside of Anaktuvuk Pass, but it felt like it could have easily been over 20. Day 2 was about the same, except maybe we substituted a little bit of our tundra walking for more bushwhacking and river crossings. One cool thing about walking on the open tundra is you can see caribou sheds sticking up everywhere.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one.
One time Jack even found an entire caribou skull.
Pretty cool. That is one humongous fungus. Put in there for scale. It could be a helmet.
After another taxing 10-mile day or so, we make our camp just below Ernie Pass. The mosquitoes were pretty bad at this site, but pretty much that's what I would expect from the Alaskan wilderness. On the morning of day 3, we have a tiny bit of uphill over Ernie Pass, but then it's all downhill as we drop in. At this point in the trip, I started to feel a little bit like ketchup. Not because it was hard for me to keep up with the group or anything, but because I'm something all red and hanging out with a bunch of fries.
Entering the Valley of the Precipices. Precipi? I don't think I have a good view yet.
There, how's that? The downhill was nice, and we were able to find a lot of solid ground to walk on, but it was not without its difficulties, including a lot of bushwhacky sections.
I don't know. Hey there. Goodness gracious, when is this gonna end?
After the likes of that, I was a little more willing to walk on a wet, squishy mattress.
We got pretty sick of side hilling it, so now we're river walking it. Right here was nice, it was braided. If they ever come together, we'll have a hard time crossing.
Check out those rad looking precipices.
Ran out of snacks. Here we go. Blueberries. The other fruit by the foot.
Here's a little more footage of the walking conditions we were faced with. And some more of the lovely views. And just a little more of the difficult walking conditions.
Some pretty extreme tussocks around here. Let's watch somebody else try that. I just want to watch you struggle through some tussocks for my video. Not bad, Jack. Not bad.
Finally, at around midnight, we reached the confluence between Ernie Creek and the North Fork of the Koyukuk, where we made some dinner and got some much-needed rest. Morning of day 4, we finally get to inflate our boats and put into the river. The weather is great, the mountains are beautiful, and it sure is nice to have a break from the tundra walking. At this point in the river, the only obstacles we encounter are the occasional sweeper on the banks. All were easily avoidable. It isn't long before we come to the mountains dubbed as the Gates of the Arctic, Boreal on the left and Frigid on the right.
Pretty cool.
Passing between them reminds me of something, but it's hard to put my finger on.
Bueno.
The most exciting rapids of the whole trip were these mild Class 2s near Cladonia Creek.
Ooh. A little splashy.
We enjoyed these rapids so much that a couple of us carried our boats up and ran them again. There were a couple other little rapids which were pretty fun. But then the river calmed for the most part.
It runs wide and it runs deep.
Look at that cool mountain.
Enough to make a grown man
It's like the Alaskan Mount Doom.
Somewhere around 8 p.m. there was a lull in the rain and we decided to make camp.
live behind. So I can't stand.
Rock I found kind of looks like Admiral Akbar. It's a trap.
In the morning of day 5 we woke up to clear skies and it ended up being our best weather day of the entire trip.
I will conquer anything with your angel.
All in all, it was a beautiful and enjoyable day on the water.
That's quite a jump from where I stand. Me, oh my, please help me land on angel's wings so I can be free from these fears that fetter me. 'Cause it runs dark and it runs swift, enough to make the grown man drift. The water flows from all.
To my great delight, our campsite that night had a shallow pool of surprisingly warm water, so I decided it was time for a wilderness bath.
Lift me up so I can stand. Guide me with your loving hand. Sound the water.
That night we also decided to enjoy the good weather by having a fire. The next morning started out dry enough, but the forecast was for rain, and rain it did. We actually traveled the most miles this day, but I took the least footage because we were just basically hunkered in our boats. There was nothing to do but keep going.
Some pretty big waves. Pretty fun.
If I stumble and I falter, if I fumble and
Eventually we got a little lull in the rain in order to set up our camp.
if the devil's darkness gathers snake around me,
And then it rained all through the night.
I run to know
But the next morning surprised us. Instead of rain as forecasted, it was sunny. We even had a rainbow to enjoy. The only thing we had to contend with was a fierce headwind that just got stronger as the day wore on. We hoped the confluence with the middle fork of the Koyukuk would bring swifter waters. Instead, it just brought a stouter headwind.
Trees give an indication of the magnitude of our headwinds.
We had plans to eat at the Bettles Lodge that night. What we thought would be a mild final day turned into a race against the clock. But motivated by the promise of a good meal, we kept on paddling, reached the shore of Bettles, and made it to the Bettles Lodge in time for dinner.
Yeah, here's some blueberries. So I guess these blueberries are fruit by the foot.